Coming up on Creating North of 55. I always think of you like you're just like this content machine, man. Like seriously, like with our agency, I get to do a whole bunch of different things. Like video is one line of business for us, and you do photo on top of it. And I just think, wow, you're just pumping out the content. Like, but you're just one guy. Do you think that that's like gonna continue to be sustainable for you? What are you thinking there?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No. I'm going to be leaning into that in 2025. 2025 is, I keep saying it, it's going to look a lot different at White Lightning. Like, it's going to be different. It's going to be different what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not sustainable.
Welcome back to Creating North of 55. I'm your host, Mariah Braun, and today with me, we've got videographer and photographer, Kelsey with White Lightning Media. Welcome back to the podcast, Kelsey.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Second time,
Yep.
First repeat guest.
Yep.
So thanks a bunch for being here today.
Of course, keep it up.
And today what we're going to be getting into is a little reflection on our 2024 as creatives and maybe what we're hoping for in 2025.
Yeah.
What was 2024 like for you as a creative, Kelsey?
Oh man, it went by so fast, but I had a lot of fun. As you've seen, I've entered like a lot of different spaces. The rodeo space, I made a point to get out there and get in and kind of get in the dirt and made some applications for some pro cards and yeah, I mean I covered a lot of the local rodeos, PBR. The opportunity to cover PBR, and that was a lot of fun. So between that and getting to tell all the stories, like it was a good year. Well,
yeah, I mean, it just went by so fast. It just felt like it was like a blink of an eye. Like it was like gas all the way through 2024. No breaks, just gas. And it was good, right? 1 year in the studio, which is a huge feat. Like,
yeah, and congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, overhead, it's expensive, but
terrifying.
I made it. Yeah, it's scary for sure. And we celebrated our first year. We had a after 5 mixer here through the chamber and new team members, staff members, growing the team,
Killing it.
Yeah,
Keeping
so.
it up.
I know, like, some of the key points for me, too, was in 2024 that some of the wins, right? Like, some of the things that I really enjoyed about 2024 is giving back through that mentorship, whether it was my staff or, maybe a couple new creators that kind of popped up in the region. I'm willing to kind of give back, and that was something really special, too. I don't know if you do any mentorship at all, but...
Here and there, like currently I am mentoring like a younger high school kid who's just like loves photography and she's like progressing so much with it. So that's kind of fun. And I mean, I get questions like in the DMs all the time about like, oh, what camera should I use for this? Or how do you get something to look like that? I can't seem to do that in my editing, or how do I, and it's like you can gatekeep and be a part of that. Or you can, be a part of the next generation and the next wave coming up. I mean, there was a time when, this director or this producer or this videographer was the best. But then there's also the next group, right? They're not going to be the best forever. So there's no shame in helping those people or mentoring them. So, yeah, I mean, I answer questions. People got questions about editing or whatever. It's like, try this.
I mean, we started somewhere too, and there were people who mentored us. So I think it's only fitting to give back. I know myself as a past story hiver, I actually have the opportunity to now mentor story hivers who are going through the program now. I think that's the best thing about it is that I've been through that exact program, right?
Yeah.
So I know how challenging it can be. I know some of the roadblocks that you might come up against, and that feels really good to be able to give back. And there's tons of work. There's so much work. We can't do it all. There's a new generation coming up.
Man, there's enough for everybody to eat. And it's like, not everybody's a fit for us, right? Like that's one of the things I think both of us have learned through 2024 and talking
Yeah.
is that, you know, a client isn't always a fit for the creative. And it's I don't know how to say it best, but there are creators out there that are operators. They're camera operators.
Yeah.
They hit record. They know how to set their settings up to hit record and collect footage. But then there's creatives that want to tell the story, right?
That's right.
And some build their whole brand around just hitting record, and that's fine because there is a market for that. There are clients out there that just want to have something recorded, and they'll do the rest. You know, so I think there's plenty for everybody to eat. And when you realize that there's all these different styles and all different requirements and what a client wants, like, yeah, get up there and get in it, you know?
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a mind shift too, right? Because when you first start out in this industry, you're kind of just taking what you can get. To be honest, when you first start, you're like, okay, people come to me or referrals come to me, I'm going to take them. When you get to a point like Kelsey and I, where we're well established, we've done a lot of content creation, I feel like sometimes you just have to say no to people.
Yep.
And you got to learn how to do that, which is kind of an art too. And, you know, the right fit, right?
Yep.
Some projects you just should never stick your nose in. Like, you know, there's just a right fit. And like, you know I've passed some stuff off to you, and you've maybe passed some stuff off to me where we've realized not a good fit, but I think, you know, Kelsey or Mariah would be the right fit for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, me personally, you know, you say we all started, you know, somewhere, and we all had to take what we could get at the time. That it's not always good when you put yourself in a position of taking absolutely every job you can at the lowest price that you can go, because that pigeonholes you so bad, and you burn yourself out so much quicker because you take on all of this work at no pay, and then all of a sudden you're exhausted and you're letting people down, and or you're not letting them down, and you're just that far in debt in your rest.
Yeah.
You know, so there's that's important, and absolutely handing off and recommending other creators to take on certain projects is super important. Like knowing who's out there. I used to do real estate video, and I don't now, right? Because it's a demanding industry, right? They need it now, and you might be working on a huge project that you're like, oh no, I can swing by for a couple hours, get that shot for you. But then it's like, okay, well now I got to take the time to stop and edit it. Okay, well now I got to take the time to make the changes that they want and add this in. Oh, can we do this? And it's like, before you know it, what you thought was 4 hours has been 4 days.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get like focused on a big project that you're in the middle of. So, I mean, maybe it's time management, but maybe it's you trying to help out, whatever. But like I said, when I started doing that, it was great. It was very helpful, and I'm glad I did it. But there came a point where I had to say, I got to stop doing those. So currently I'm not in the real estate video business anymore.
Yeah. And I know people have asked me to do like things like weddings, and I've done it once, and I'm like, yep, that'll be the end of that. I don't think I'll be going down that route again. It's just not my style. And I've got to be okay with that. And like even some of like the high action stuff, like I'm just thinking there's probably a better person that could do this for you, a better job, and they're going to enjoy it a lot more than me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part about being a creative is you should be doing those projects that fulfill that, right? Yeah. And the other thing you got to watch out for is like taking on projects and not knowing enough information before you get started. That's a huge mistake, something that has happened to me in the past, and it's a good learning lesson, I think. I think you have to have some of those projects to kind of get you reset and moving forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been in the same situation where, you know, I haven't asked enough questions, and I just said, yeah, absolutely, I can shoot that. Sounds like a cool idea. And then before you know it, you're, you know, a month over what you had allotted for this project. And it's like, oh my gosh. what have I done? But the thing as creatives is we push through it, and that's kind of a lesson I'm learning. And they're hard lessons, and we have to learn. We have to make these mistakes to learn these lessons. But that's probably one of my biggest pieces of advice is like make the mistakes. When someone comes up to you and says, "What's the answer? What's your secret?" It's like, I'll tell you exactly, but you're not going to walk out the door and go and do that.
Yeah.
And effectively carry on with your business and your growth, because there's so much you're going to miss by not making those mistakes.
Yep.
So
it's all about experience. You just gotta do the thing, make the mistakes.
it's not experience in running a camera.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
just experiencing business.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, and like even just some of the projects, like the stuff that I lean into is like the sensitive stuff. It's like somebody's got a story that's really impacted their life. I sit down, I interview them. But before that, I actually build a relationship with them so that there's trust. There's all these things that go into the scope of filming the video, not just hitting record, right? So I think in 2025, I want to carry through more of the projects that I really am passionate about, the stuff that it fills the cup more creatively, for sure.
I mean, that's why we got into this, because we're filling a creative cup. We're the kids that didn't really grow up.
Yeah.
We've got that creativity that's still just like a forest fire inside of us. And that's why I do it. I mean, being able to tell the stories every day, like a piece of my soul leaves my body when someone's like, "Yeah, no, we just need a camera and a tripod and just hit record, please."
Yeah.
It's like,
no thanks.
it's like, I'll do it, but it's just, it's not where my heart is.
Yeah.
I want to tell someone's story. I want to share with them. I want to learn more about colors on camera. And that's my 2025 is learn more about these colors on the camera and what is going to pull the emotion out of that scene even more, because I like to think I'm a good storyteller, because I'm so passionate about it, and I really focus on that in my craft. So learning more angles and the colors and things like that on what can really pull the story out and show it to the viewer. So
yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah. I think that's all about growth and sustainability, keeping it unstale and always propelling you forward, right?
Yep.
And I think that's something in 2024 both of us have experienced is growth and sustainability. I always think of you like you're just like this content machine, man. Like seriously, like with our agency, I get to do a whole bunch of different things. Like video is one line of business for us, and you do photo on top of it. And I just think, wow, you're just pumping out the content, like, but you're just one guy. Do you think that that's like gonna continue to be sustainable for you? What are you thinking there?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No. I'm going to be leaning into that in 2025. 2025 is, I keep saying it, it's going to look a lot different at White Lightning. Like it's going to be different. It's going to be different what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not sustainable. I mean, I've gone and shot video on projects and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do photo at the same time. And I can, but it's wearing me down.
You're putting yourself in a spot and you're thinking you're helping the client and all these things, but to switch back and forth between those two like is extremely difficult.
It is, and the post-production side of it is a lot, and then the administrative side of it is a lot, and you want to be everywhere and you want to capture everyone's story, and there are times it works. Not every time it does, and sometimes we stretch ourselves thin. So for me, it's not a sustainable model, and it's taken me 4 years to learn that. Not even 4 years to learn that, right? Like, I mean, you start out on your own. You don't start out with a team.
Yeah.
But in the last year, maybe two, I've really noticed that it's a lot. So my thoughts are potentially bringing on an editor, and maybe a second shooter, like a photographer.
Yeah. Even
So,
start with like a production assistant, right? Like get them used to the set environment
yep,
or whatever, right?
yeah,
Like it helps. Like even getting like release forms like signed or
yeah,
like
yeah.
those little things
Oh my
really make the
gosh.
big difference.
Something that takes 15 minutes takes 2 hours
Yeah.
because you have to mentally switch over. So then my question for you, because you
Okay.
have a team,
Yeah.
how did you hand off your creativity and vision? How do you find it sourcing these employees and these team members? Because the way I look at it is they got to be an extension of me.
Yeah.
It's got to be like, okay, I need you to go over there, and it needs to me, it needs to be as if I was standing in the room with the client,
For
but it's
sure.
not me, it's them.
I will say it's extremely hard to find employees. I would say the toughest part is finding the employees that align with your values. You can teach everything else, but if they don't align with the values, that's not really teachable, right? But I'm very lucky. I've got a great team with me, and they're doing an awesome job at kind of propelling the vision forward and
Yeah.
making sure it has that M3M style. Not to say that it's not an evolution, and they bring great things to the table that
Yeah.
even enhance it even more and change things up, which is great too, because when you're kind of the solopreneur, I've found that things just got stale, right? Like I'm just kind of doing things in a formula. And when you bring a different perspective in, it really helps the end product. And talking through like my vision too, instead of just being in my own head, really, really helps. But you're right, finding employees is tough. But as long as you go forward with like those values, I think that's kind of the key.
Yeah. Because the way I look at it is, and this might just be me, but we have clients that I really feel like come to people like us because of what we do and what our product looks like,
Yep.
you know, not just because we have cameras,
Yep.
right? So that's the thing that I'm like, well, how do I bring someone on that's going to look like what White Lightning is? And I think what I struggle with is I need to understand that growth is change.
Yep.
So I have to change a bit. And my look and my feel is going to evolve and change and grow, or to grow,
Yeah.
essentially. So
And don't forget, you're going to have to invest.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's not just going to happen. You got to invest in those people and be firm and be confident in that decision. And you just kind of have to give it time to soak.
So that's there's 2025 for me is breaking that barrier down. And on the topic of investing, I think another important thing that I've kind of always known, but it's really set in on this past year is you have to give 100% to get that back. You have to. You're only going to get out of this what you put in. You know, if you're only going to work your 5 hours a day, you're only that's what's going to show, right? You put your heart into it. You are passionate about it. It's going to show, and people will see it, and they're going to know what your video is and when a video isn't yours.
Yeah.
Because someone, I don't know, I really truly feel like you got to put to be that creative, you've got to be passionate about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to,
I'm going to catch a lot of flack for that one.
yeah, you do have to be passionate about it. And I think that shines through in a medium like we're communicating in, video, photo. It's that human element. It's the passion that comes through for the storytelling. It's having a nice flow. Like there's so many things that just go into it. And you're right. If you are cheap and fast and quick, it's gonna look cheap and fast and quick. I'm sorry, but it will.
I look back at, for example, I did a video for 911 Industrial. when I started. They started this security program or their security division. And I think it was like 2 years later, I went in and we did another video.
Yeah.
Because we started doing this whole other series. And I put those videos together from time to time and I'm like, what was I doing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Going back to some old footage.
What was I doing? And, I've got some like banger clips from back when I started. But like when I put that story together, I could really see that I had a long ways to go. And I still do.
Yeah.
And I will never stop feeling that because as soon as you think you've figured it all out, you're done.
Yeah. There's these steep learning curves and then you plateau for a while. I'm kind of feeling plateaued lately myself.
I feel like I should make a video of that 911 video and put them next to each other and just show people like it was. Ooh.
I know. I recently had a project where I had to go back and pull some B-roll from some old footage that I shot, and I'm just going, wow, what was I doing? Okay, color, temperature. I didn't do anything there, it was like really orange. And
oh my gosh.
I mean, I was, the dynamic range is enough that I could pull it back a little bit and ease it up for this one. But looking back at some old stuff is probably a good place to start too, right? Is to see how far you've come, but it's like you can still go further and dial in your learnings as a creator. And I think that's something in 2024 I haven't done is a lot of learning. It's like I said earlier, it's just been full throttle, go, help these people, help these clients, make sure the lights are on here, our employees are paid. And I haven't spent a lot of time on that professional development. Yeah. And I think as a creative, you do need to continue to push yourself that way.
My thoughts on that are don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Because even collaboration is learning, right?
Yeah.
We've collaborated. And there's been things when, I'm running the camera with you and you're like, oh, I didn't know it did that.
Yeah.
And then even like the one when we were doing the last podcast and I was like, oh, I didn't know they did that.
Yeah.
So it's like collaboration is learning still. So remember not to be too hard on yourself that you didn't do any like professional development, but like with your peers, if you're collaborating, you're still learning.
For sure. I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, I just feel like the shooting that I've been doing lately is just, it's plateaued. I guess I've already kind of said it. It's just kind of remained steady. And I'm looking to go up to the next level, know?
So if you're plateaued, what is your next, I don't want to say next level right now, but like what would be a step forward and up for you? What do you really want to shoot? What is something that you're like, oh, if I could just take a week and go and do this?
Well, overall, I think just in general shooting, like I want to shoot and log and be comfortable with that, not have to rely on picture profile 1 or 3 or whatever, right? Like I want to push the limits that way.
Good.
Like the technical stuff, learning my camera more, learning lighting more. Those things are really what like elevate your content, I think.
And that's great. I remember when, I started hearing about like log, like what are you shooting in? Oh, I shoot in log. And I'm like, what's log? What's log? And then I switched to log and I'm like, why would anybody shoot in this?
I know.
This looks awful.
Your camera, like you brought your camera by and you're like, yeah, it's in log. And like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with it? I'm scared.
It's easier than you think, so don't worry. But I was there, right? I remember when I walked up to a wedding because log can really help with like, especially with real estate. That's kind of where I started using it because you have a blown out window.
Yeah.
Right. So it can kind of bring all the lights kind of into level. But I remember walking up to the first wedding that I shot in log and I was like, okay, you can do this. Yeah. You can do this. You can do this. I was like, worst case, I pay someone $1,000 to edit it. That's it, right? Like someone else can color it for me. They can fix it. I was like, but you can do this. So, I did it. And now I shoot. You don't need log everywhere.
No,
but it's really nice in in certain like really bright scenarios. So the outdoor stuff looks so good
Yeah.
in log. Like you can pull colors out and you can make it look so nice. Yeah, I think that's a good goal for you, and I'm really
Yeah.
excited to see what you come up with that.
Well, what are some of your 2025 goals? Like we've kind of recapped and kind of wrapped up 2024. Like I think you were saying earlier, like it's going to look really different for white lighting media. So
Yeah.
talk me through that.
There's gonna be a lot more stories. I'm going to be working with a lot of clients more closely and building those relationships. I really, really want to loosen my grip on the reins and bring someone on and start handing stuff to them to do and building trust with someone to do that. So I mean, going through that is going to be a lot, and I think that's a big goal. I'm starting a podcast.
Congratulations. Oh, is this like the first time you're saying that out loud, like on the cameras?
It is. So you heard it here first.
Heard it here. Oh my gosh.
So the one that is for sure is going to be a rodeo podcast. It's going to be focused all around rodeo.
Sick.
I had so much fun with it, and telling like everybody loved it. Everybody loved the videos I was taking for them, and the riders, the ropers, the racers. So after the one rodeo, I had my recorder and I had a couple mics with me, and I was like, guys, let's sit down and talk about like what this event meant to you. And I had a couple of stock contractors sit down, and they talked for like a half hour, and they were like, that was amazing. We got to talk about why we love doing this. It's like, when you think of rodeo, you don't think of the stock contractors, the guys that are like raising the animals and training the animals, because the animals are athletes too.
Yeah.
So they're like, we love this. And then, they kept bugging me. They're like, we should do that. We should do that more often. And I was like, okay, well, how can I make it sustainable? How can I make it so that it's not just the same four guys all the time talking about the same things? And then I was like, you know what? Why don't we just hit every single corner of rodeo? So it's going to be like the barrel racers, the bull riders, the steer wrestlers, the team ropers, the bullfighters, the stock contractors, the caterers, every part of all these events that we love going to and have loved going to for up to 100 years now. We're going to see everybody's point of view.
I love that. Different perspectives, widening the scope, right? And letting people know what is so involved in the rodeo kind of lifestyle, right?
And I think it's going to be cool because
it's cool. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of man, I've been in the area for quite a few years now, and there was 2 rodeos that I've never been to here. And and it's like, if more people knew about them, they put on such a good show. So looking forward to that.
That's cool.
So 2025, I'm gonna be. It's gonna look a lot different.
Podcast from Kelsey. I'm so excited.
Good. Well, it's gonna be all right.
What else? What else are you hoping 2025 to look like?
Cinematic.
Just living life in a cinematic space.
It's going to be a cinematic 2025. I want to update. We talked about this too. I want to update the way I do things.
The systems.
Yeah, the systems and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only going to take on 2 weddings a year.
Okay.
And they're going to be the full meal deal. They're going to be like getting ready. They're going to be speeches, like cinematic speeches. They're going to be a cinematic, well wishes or like funny comments from everybody. Set up like a little video booth, like video photo booth sort of thing. They come down, it'll be like tight audio and cinematic look and lighting, sunset shoot, and like everything from pin to pin. And it's just going to be the coolest videos you see. It's going to look like a TV show.
I love it. And you can do it because you're only taking on 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
they will get the full attention of my wedding brain.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. That's a good way of allowing yourself to do those things and not get burnt out. And I'm sure you've experienced something that led you to that system, right?
Yeah.
So Good for you. What about your photos? I think we were talking about maybe being published,
Yeah, I
possibly.
would like to get some photos published. I have a couple right now that I've kind of got sent out to a few places.
Cool.
So I'm just waiting to hear back on that, but that would be good. And a film festival.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is there like a specific film fest you're looking to get into? Just anything, just checking it off the
Yeah,
list, hey?
I'm not going to be picky. I'm grateful for every opportunity I've
Yeah.
got. I mean, I've grown exponentially in this space. And alongside you, I've watched you do the same.
Thank
So
you. Yeah.
I think I really want to get into any film festival. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just grateful for, any opportunity I can. So there's a couple stories out there that we're kind of lining up to
Okay.
tell.
Can you talk about like any of the films that you have in mind or not really at
Not
this
quite
time?
yet.
Okay. Cool.
But once I get the green light on that, yeah, definitely
Yeah.
I want to talk about it. But
What's the thing with films, right? You got to wait a while to be able to talk about them sometimes.
and
Yeah.
that was the one thing. Like I did a documentary,
Okay.
and my goal with the documentary was to have that in a film festival, and that was the agreement with everything. But then things changed, and they wanted to play it, and as you know,
Yeah.
once you play something, it's not eligible for a film festival anymore.
Yeah.
So I kind of had that taken away, which is fine. It's the way it worked out, and I'm okay with it. So we're gonna try again. I'm gonna really focus on it, and like I said,
Yeah, good
2025.
luck.
Hopefully, it's published and Film Fest. What about you? What do you?
Well, I'm kind of looking to get back into the film industry because I've taken a full hiatus. Well, not a full hiatus. I still help people with their
I'll
films
be
on the
honest.
side, but
When I started out, I think the only person I was, if I'm going to say threatened by, and I'm threatened, I don't even think is the right word, was you
are you
because of
serious?
yeah because of your experience in that industry, and I was like,
It's nothing.
I don't know
Kelsey.
anybody else in this game that's gone to school for it. Like, I'm not going to name names about like the other big names out there, but I was like, Mariah's the only one that's actually gone to school for this. Like, she's going to take everything. She's going to have
my
it all.
gosh,
And then,
no.
we start working together and collaborating more and more and more. And it's like, it's not, and the more I lean into the collaboration over competition thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I think there's just something about you say film or indie film industry or whatever. It just like bumps it up a little, like intimidation factor a little bit,
Yeah.
and it's really nothing. I'll be honest. Like I just think filmmaking is just like another medium. Like it's a little bit like the content creation for social media and stuff. It's just a different way of doing it,
Yeah.
different formats, lengths, those kind of things. So they're all skills that you have, Kelsey. You could go on a set and I'm sure you'd make it by. There's just certain etiquettes you'll learn after time.
well, I
And
mean, I do have an FX3 now.
yeah,
So.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. Like so jealous of you, by the way. Congrats on the new
Yeah.
piece of equipment.
I'm just an FX3 boy.
Yeah, and like that's the thing too is like you work with other people, you get to work different cameras. Like
Yeah.
you handed over your FX3 today, and I was just like, oh my gosh, am I gonna
Set
handle
that
this
thing
right?
up. Set that thing up. Let's get going. And you're like,
It's like
let's
a
go.
baby. I just want to cradle it.
It's like a teenager now.
But yeah, I think
Excuse me.
the biggest thing about like getting back into the film industry or maybe just getting on any kind of film for 2025 is just learning new things, because as soon as you get on somebody else's set, they run it differently, you meet different people, you learn different skills, and I'm kind of hungry for that. Also kind of hungry for creating my own film again.
Nice.
It's been a while, right? Like more like the COVID days that I was creating my own films. I've got a couple of ideas in the think tank, and I'd like to at least start developing some of those ideas for 2025. So
I think you should, and I completely agree with you. I mean, I went and shot I was on a set for a podcast, and I was running FX3. So talk about learning the other guy's equipment. Like, it's so important
Yep.
because I was able to walk on there and run that camera. But the amount that I walked away with from being a part of that set, I'd never been on anything like that before. I've filmed for TV.
Yeah.
I've filmed hunting TV shows, but I've never been a part of something like that, so high profile. And the way they did things is like, that's easy to do. Why can't I do that? So I went out and got, it cost me $1,000
Yeah.
just to make a couple adjustments. And now, I put processes in place and it's how I run my ship.
Yeah.
And so I do agree with you. I think being a part of those other people's sets is important.
Yeah.
Even
100%.
working with you, like we did the stars
Yep.
challenge. Like,
Oh yeah,
I
that was a
learned-
crazy shoot.
That was crazy. And let's not forget about the work you put in on that. This lady over here, like 24 hours.
Not even.
Not even. Sorry. Well, I was just being generous to the situation and saying a day. But like even if you had a day, it's still wild.
I think it was technically 12.
Yeah. It was probably less.
So this shoot was 12 hours and we arrived at like 7 or something, like on the first location. There was multiple locations on top of this. And we had to shoot the day and then turn around and have the edit ready for like an event at 7 p.m. the same day. So I had like 3 different shooters, Kelsey included. I needed somebody to go up in a helicopter, so of course I'm gonna be like,
That'd be me.
yo, Kelsey,
Yeah.
go up there because I'm gonna drive to the next location instead of getting a helicopter ride there. And then I had editors. I had 2 editors. As we were going, I'd be like, Kelsey, give me your SD card, and I'd be filming, and I'd be like, let me run these SD cards. Or I had a production assistant as well, actually, that day. So I was like, run these SD cards up to them, and you wouldn't believe it. We actually pulled it off.
I believe every bit of it. I believe every bit of it. That's the thing, though. Like, when we're passionate about this, we make it happen.
Yeah.
Like, I was talking to a friend of mine about it, just business in general.
Yeah.
It's when they say, love what you do and you never work a day in your life. It's so true. Like, if you're passionate, truly, truly passionate about what you do, none of that seems like a hurdle.
Yeah. And it goes back to the film experience, getting on other people's sets, managing a production set with 20 people. I wouldn't have been able to do that Stars shoot if it wasn't for that experience that came before it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to expand that and grow from those experiences. And if it scares you, that's like, I'm like, 12-hour shoot, turn it around and have something spit out. Like, the risk is you don't have anything at the end and not good enough to show somebody. And I just had faith in my team and got the right people in place, and it happened, right?
Yep.
So
then
awesome.
Going into 2025, maybe not for you, maybe not for me, but what is your biggest piece of advice for creators out there?
Goes back to growth. Find those opportunities for growth, push yourself into doing something that like makes you a little bit scared, right? Like, within reason, of course, right? Like, that it's possible, but like, if it scares you, try and go out and do that and give it all, give it your all, right? Because I think that's where I've seen the most growth as a creative myself, is just going out there and trying new things and growing from those experiences. So,
heck yeah.
How about yourself? What's your advice?
I'm going to pass advice on that was given to me, and I said it, I think, once or twice already in this, but learn the other guy's equipment.
Yeah.
Because if you really want to learn, you got to go work with your peers. And if you shoot Canon or you shoot Nikon, know how to run my Sonys if I hire you.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, for sure.
Because as much as I think you're a good creator, your cameras look different than mine, and they will make editing 4 times as long because you want to use your camera. My cameras all look the same, right? They all have the same color profile. They all, the editing of all my Sonys look the same. So learn the other guy's equipment, and create and post your stuff.
Yeah.
Post your work.
Stuff. Yeah, that's something I got to do better at in
You and me
2025.
both. Mechanics trucking.
It's just so difficult, right? We are just focused on our clients, and we got to also take a little sliver for ourselves and focus on our business and make it grow and sustainable and optimize those systems. Because
Post your stuff. And I think another reason to post your stuff is, well, I don't know. What do you think? Should we do like a Creator of the Year award?
I would love to do that. I think like there's so many great creatives in this region that deserve some recognition. I would love to do that in 2025 if we just like keep our eyes out for you.
Yeah.
And you know, you're creating some good stuff. Maybe by next year we can do like an award for somebody.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out what criteria is.
Yeah.
But like, I think there's something there. Or
I
like a big
know.
trophy.
Totally.
And something that's,
Like a big belt.
Yeah. Like a big
Creator
UFC belt.
Yeah.
Creator of the Year, Grand Prairie.
I would love that.
I think that'd be great.
Well, thanks for being on the pod,
Yeah.
Kelsey.
Thanks for having me.
Again. The second time you're on the pod and the first returning guest. I really appreciate it. And hopefully in 2025, my goal is to have you on again, talking about stuff that's all around creativity. So just to wrap up, please follow and subscribe to all of our channels on YouTube, on Spotify. You'll get notified when we have a new episode, and have a great 2025, y'all.